Okay, our precious metals update Friday, just before market open, August 19th. So we'll start with gold. Things are taking a bearish turn on the daily chart. So we still have our high from day 14. We still haven't eclipsed that. It has become our swing high, and that's our daily cycle high at this point. We're on day 21. These things usually last around 30 days. So that suggests another, something like 10 days of downside. And I imagine, the trajectory is probably going to be correlated with stocks, which are also moving into a daily cycle low. More importantly, if you look at the weekly cycle, we had this nice strong rally for 4 weeks, starting with that bottom, on week 31. So this is definitely a new weekly cycle. The problem is we now have a swing high, right? Week 3 has become a big swing high. This is a big, massive red candle. So now we have to see how we close today. It's important. This is a Friday. The way we close today tells us how this weekly candle closes, and that gives us odds for how we open next week and how we form from there. If we can build a lower wick here, we can get an inside week opening next week, right? Like you imagine the candle open somewhere around here, right? If we can close like around here, right? If we get a rally today, and then maybe there's a chance to make a new high, because we're still early in the weekly cycle. This is week 4. So there's time for it to turn around. The reverse, though, is that if we're starting the weekly cycle decline now, that means we're going to have a massive trending move lower, which could be really profitable if you're inclined to, be aggressive and short. And if you look at the monthly chart, really ugly shooter shaping up here, yet there's time in the month left. So we could still reverse at this point a little bit, but this looks like something that is not shaping up very bullish. And we're on month 80 of this longer term cycle. Again, that 7 to 8 year cycle. The top was month 56. That was August 2020. So we've been chopping around here this whole time. On its face, it looks like a bull flag, but it's a question of, do we have more downside first before we get that explosion up? This definitely looks like what we're seeing here definitely suggests that we might. But again, today is going to be actually pretty pivotal to see like kind of how we close. Silver, much more bearish, and it was outperforming gold at one point. So looking at the daily chart, we have our top for silver on week 22, and just look at this downward slope. Where have you seen this before? Look at that, right? It does this, right? And so we've already broken below this higher low, right? Like you imagine, like just so you can see it kind of visually, right? We had this like consolidation down here, then we made this move up like this. Then we had this higher low, came up here. Now we've come down here, right? So we've broken below that low. And now question, do we get that rebound that we need to see? It's day 26, so already relatively late in the daily cycle. But that doesn't mean you can't get a lot more downside. Look at this daily cycle, right? Where we topped on day 34, so pretty bullish, and then we just gave it all back and just had a very long 55-day cycle. So again, same kind of thing with gold, except more magnified. We could have a big trending move lower, and that could be a chance to make some money. For silver, it's week 5, which is suspicious because the previous 3 weekly cycles all topped out on week 6, 7, and 7, right? And so it would be very bearish and like actually on character for this cycle to actually top out on week 5, right? So they're just getting shorter, right? The rallies. So you had a 7-week rally, a 7-week rally, a 6-week rally, and is this now a 5-week rally before, and that's all we get, and now we're in the declining phase? Again, if we're starting the declining phase this early, that could be a really profitable move. And again, this is a bearish outside weekly candle, another word for a fake breakdown. We made a new high, and then we've come and failed out the other side. We could always get a recovery. It's relatively early in the weekly cycle. We can't rule that out. And again, how we close today is going to be important because that's going to dictate how we open next week and what the odds are, for further upside or potentially some consolidation. And if you look at the monthly chart on this one, yeesh, like that thing looks like it's ready to fall through the floor. Like targeting new lows. And remember, at one point this looked incredibly bullish, right? It was bullish. It was green. We know that because we saw it in the previous video, for instance. But we know that from knowing how candles form. This upper little wick means it was green up here at one point. Now it's just failed out the other side. But that's the important thing. you know what these signals are. And so now there's no excuse for just holding the bag, right? Now at this point, if you're holding, then you know what you're getting into. Like, you're just holding for more downside, right? Like, you're getting very clear bearish signals at this point. I mean, really, this bearish outside daily candle that's a bearish outside daily candle or a bullish outside candle are usually pretty strong signals. Not always, but here we got follow through, and then we're just getting more follow through. At some point, we're going to get a bounce, and that's what we're going to want to see, right? Like, that's what we're going to, like, are we doing something like this, like that, and then this? We're going to get a bounce at some point. Or we're going to do something like that, and then that, and then that, and then that, right? That's what you want to kind of watch for. And again, if you're inclined to go short, if you're aggressive, there may be some money to be made because it's really early in the weekly cycle. Like, we would get a daily cycle low, and then we would get a few more daily cycles of that would be left translated as the weekly cycle continues to decline. That's what we would expect. And finally, we'll do GDX, and maybe this one was a tell. Very bearish. So we had this pretty weak rally for 12 trading days. It was about 13%. And now we've made a new low below this higher low, just like silver. It's day 19 of the daily cycle. So far today, as we just opened, it's an inside day. I would suspect we're targeting new lows, so like down at 25. So we'll see if we get that by the end of today. That'll tell you a lot going into the weekend. And this weekly chart, my God, it could be that we got our top on week 2. Like, it could happen. Now, here's the thing about this one though. We never actually broke above the 10-week moving average the same way we did for gold, which is interesting because you notice this little feeble rally never got anywhere close to the 10-period moving average. This one at least almost kissed it, right? But even still, like, maybe, so this was week 26. Let's say we're going to make a lower low below here. So this would be week 27, 28, 29, right? Like, so maybe that's your saving grace, right? Maybe the daily cycle low that we get coming up, maybe that is actually your ICL. If you want to kind of take the most sort of bullish possible interpretation, the monthly chart, still an inside month, but probably not for long. That would be, a move, below, last month's low, which was, 24.38. So we'll see if we get that.